All right, welcome to the March 1st meeting of the Rent Control Board. We are now called to order. Can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Duran.
Here.
Commissioner Flora.
Here.
Commissioner Terosis.
Here.
And Commissioner Foster.
Here.
And Commissioner Phyllis is absent.
That's right. All right, let's stand for the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, sorry. Thank you. All right, any announcements from staff? Oh, yes, sorry. Let's approve the minutes. Take a moment to look them over, and if you see no issues with it, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 22nd meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, there's been a first and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the minutes are approved. Now,
Yes, thank you.
take it away, Tracy.
I have a few items this evening. First, I wanted to note that today is March 1st, so it's the effective date of Regulation 3120, which means that any tenancies established today and in the future cannot have the tax-related surcharges passed through to them. We did send a mailing to all property owners informing them about that in the middle of February. So I wanted everybody to be aware of that. Then I also wanted to mention the upcoming meetings that I've mentioned for this previous several meetings. First is the seismic retrofit meeting for anybody who will be affected by the Soft Story Seismic Retrofit Program. That's coming up on Thursday, March 8th from 10 to noon at the Martin Luther King Auditorium at the main library. You don't have to sign up in advance for that. Both city staff and engineers will be there to explain the retrofit process and to answer any questions. Our next rent control seminar will be owning rental property in Santa Monica. That will be Tuesday, April 3rd from 9:30 to noon at the same location, the multipurpose room of, or no, not the same location, the multipurpose room of the main library. We would like you to sign up in advance for that, so please contact our office. Also, the fair housing issues and rental housing will occur on April 24th. This is always a very interesting event and very well attended. So anybody who's interested should contact the city attorney's office through either a link on our website or the city attorney's website. This is being sponsored by the city attorney's office, our office, the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, and Action Apartment Association. So I think that will be a very interesting seminar and meeting on April 24th. And finally, anybody that's interested in receiving email from the Rent Control Board can sign up for periodic emails and electronic communications that we send out through a link on our website at smgov.net/rentcontrol.
Wonderful, and thank you especially for that last bit about the email address. And I think Commissioner Terosis has a question for staff.
Okay, so today's the effective date of 31/20. I probably should know the answer to this question, but have we added information about that to our info sheet that needs to be given to tenants by landlords when they start their tenancy?
Yes, we did, and when we mailed the letter to all of the property owners explaining this change, we included the updated info sheet. So they all have that now in their possession, plus they can download it from our website.
Great, thanks.
Great question. All right, now is the part of our meeting where we have public comment. The time we set aside to hear from members of the public to address the board on matters that are not included on the agenda, but that are within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. And this might be a first. In my over 2 years on the board, we have none. So we will move right along to our administrative item, 12A. This is the discussion of an engagement plan to gather input from the public on approaches to addressing rent surcharges for local property tax assessments and voted indebtedness. And staff's going to read a report, and the only action we're going to take tonight is general consensus around the items proposed by staff, and if we like them, don't like them, and hopefully let them move ahead.
Okay, good evening, Commissioner Foster, Chairperson Foster, and and commissioners. I can read the report if you like, or if you like, I could summarize. Which would you rather?
I think summarizing is fine because it's really down to the nuts and bolts of what you're going to be putting in. So
Okay,
And
great.
with availability for questions.
Absolutely, for sure. So, in short order, we put together this communications plan really aimed at the March 22nd meeting of the board to try to encourage public comment. We identified as the goal to really inform the public that the board is considering amendments to the regulations that may affect the pass-through of surcharges based on property tax direct assessments and voted indebtedness. All of the communications that we plan to do and are actually currently engaged in are designed to not only inform people of the meeting, but to encourage them to come with as much concrete proposals that they can develop. I think it might just be most effective to look at the chart on page 2 of the staff report, which covers the various approaches that we are taking. First of all, we want to use the venues of the city of Santa Monica to post notices. We typically do that for our seminars. We can also include that at the public libraries, wherever they have bulletin boards, and we intend to get those out, have those posted early next week, as soon as we come up with the flyer. Could be as early as Monday, but probably not until midweek to get those to the libraries and have them posted. We also are going to have all of the information coordinators and information analysts who meet with the public here at City Hall or talk with them over the phone to inform people of the meeting and invite them to comment. I sent a kind of a script to staff today and told them that I would like them to make sure that each caller and each person is told about the meeting. In the course of the next 3 weeks, we may communicate with as many as 500 members of the public just through our public information activities. We also are going to post, of course, on our homepage a notice of the meeting and a place for people to submit their comments via email. We don't really have like an interactive blog kind of thing on our site, but we can solicit comment from the public that way. We expect to get that notice on the website on Monday, and it may take us maybe till Tuesday to put together a dedicated page on the website where we will have resources for people considering this issue. So we will have the staff reports that have been prepared, and we'll also have links to board discussion of related issues at your meeting, so they can watch and learn. We expect that given the regular visits to the website, we might reach as many as 3,000 people over the next 3 weeks with that. We don't know how many people will go to the dedicated webpage, but we're hoping at least hundreds will. We're also collaborating with the city's communications team regarding social media. Rent Control does have its own Facebook page, but we have a limited number of friends, about 500 or so. But the city has a much wider reach, and so we're going to use the city's Facebook page, their Twitter account, their Instagram account, and their Nextdoor account to post notices of the meeting and invite comment. We should be able to reach well over 10,000 people with those vehicles. And we're also going to run a slide on City TV. So they have a bulletin board, and the slides recur throughout the day, and we're going to request that that run until the day of the meeting. The city also has an event calendar, and we're just going to list the event on the calendar. And then we're going to do an email campaign, and we are compiling our owner email list and owners who have submitted tenancy registration forms to us online to augment that list. And so all of those people will be getting an email from us. And we're also going to put together a tenant email list. We don't generally maintain that, but we do have several hundred tenant emails from when they have contacted us to register for seminars, or if they have posted questions or on our regular email account at smgov.net. So we should be able to put together several hundred emails to tenants and probably many more to owners, since we have a larger list for owners. That campaign will begin on Monday, and we expect to also include in the email a link for readers to comment specifically about this board agenda item. We're also going to use the city's SAMO News, which is a newsletter that connects residents for various things. There are opportunities or features or events that are posted there, and that is a bi-monthly newsletter. The first one comes out March 6th, and the next one would be March 20th. The city's communications team has suggested that we use the March 20th one because they feel that the closer to the event, the more effective it's going to be. So we're going to do that. We also are going to include a link in Rick Cole's city manager newsletter. So at the bottom of that newsletter there are links, and I'm not sure if his subscription base is as large as SAMO News, but I think that's what I was told. So we should be able to reach thousands of people through those vehicles. We are also preparing an advertisement to place in the Santa Monica Daily Press. We think that we should run an ad at least once a week for the next 3 weeks prior to the meeting. The cost for that is nominal. For a quarter-page ad, we're looking at less than $300 per issue. So that would be a total cost of less than $1,000 to reach all of the readers of Santa Monica Daily Press. We also are going to produce a press release that we would send out to all of the local publications, as well as to the neighborhood association and other community groups, because the press release could be picked up by the publications, but each one of the neighborhood associations also has their own website, and that may be a good way to get out the word to them. Finally, the board has expressed an interest in some kind of direct mail piece, a postcard or something like that. Surely that would be the most direct coverage of the event, because it would go out to all of the owners and all of the tenants that we have. But the issue with that is simply the cost. We looked into the production cost of a postcard and the mailing cost, and together with the printing and with the mailing, we're looking at a cost of about $12,000. We think that with the other avenues that we're exploring to get the word out, that we should be able to reach a good swath of the Santa Monica public, and it may not be necessary to do a direct mail piece, but we would like your direction on that tonight. Finally, there are 11 community events and neighborhood meetings that we identified occurring between today and March 22nd. And commissioners have expressed an interest in attending those, and staff could attend those with you, or instead if you're not available. We have already agendized 2 of those. One is with the Pico Neighborhood Association, which is meeting on March 8th. And Commissioner Flora has already contacted his neighborhood association, the Mid-City Neighbors, and that is scheduled for March 20th. So we would suggest that if you are interested in attending any of these events, that you coordinate with Ms. Condon to make sure we don't have any violations and we have no more than 2 at any event. But that really summarizes, what we are doing, and we hope that we'll get a good response from the public. So, do you have any questions about the plan?
Do any of my commissioners have a question for Dan? Clarifying questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a few.
Before we go to public comment?
Are yours questions or comments?
Comments.
Oh, I have questions. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for putting this together in such short order. I just want to say I really like the idea of having a dedicated kind of landing page off of our webpage with further information. I've seen the city do that with special initiatives, and I think that that's really important. So I like the press release, the neighborhood and community associations, the paid notices. Obviously, I know that you said that they were pretty affordable, but it sounds like they're a little expensive. With the direct mail, obviously that's the desired. I mean, I think that that's probably like the most effective way to reach the public, but it's very, very expensive. So is there a way to do a targeted send where or maybe this question is for our executive director, but would there be a way to whittle the list that we have of, say, tenants and landlords that started their tenancies between X year and X year? I mean, or if we know buildings that have turned over, buildings that have been sold since 2012, like that type of thing. Is there a way to target the people we're sending so that we only use our resources to send to the most affected individuals who would be the most likely to come comment?
Well, with our database, we can select by tenancy date. I mean, we would know which tenancies began after some date that you'd have to give us, what date you'd want us to do the cutoff at. And similarly, we do track property ownership, but the way that we track it includes title transfers that may not have caused a reassessment. It may have been a family putting into a trust or something like that. So.
But don't we think that, that could be not a perfect way, but like a potential way to whittle down the number of people we would have to send this to, even if some of the transfers didn't result, in a reassessment?
I'm not sure.
Well, we could do that. In order to do the analysis that we did for the median surcharges on the properties that had changed ownership, we looked at what the tax assessments were prior to the sale and what they were post-sale. Mm-hmm. We identified, I think it was about 3,000 units total that were in those properties. We could try and target those if that's the board's desire. We hadn't really thought about that. The tenancies, I think all tenants are, it may be of interest to all tenants. Sure. So I'm not sure that just selecting out some to send the postcard to would be the advisable thing to do. but it is possible.
Yeah, but we know that we have we are not allowing surcharges to be passed through on a going forward basis. So I'm just trying to get the people that would be directly affected. I'm not saying that all tenants wouldn't be interested, but if we're trying to be fiscally responsible and just send a mailer to a few people, because this is very expensive. I also think that this is probably a lesson for the future to get email addresses. I know that we've talked about that. I mean, I just feel like email would be so much cheaper, so much easier, so much more effective. I'm just really concerned about that.
So this
Well,
sounds a
we are-
bit more
I'm
discussion.
Not, I'm
than
not done with
clarifying.
Okay. No, I'm not done with my questions. So I just want to know, like, how could we avoid this problem in the future?
Well, one of the things that we're doing is we're revising a tenant information sheet that is sent with the tenant copy of the tenant registration form. So when the owner registers the tenancy, we send a copy of that form to the tenant so that they can confirm that what the owner registered was correct. And along with that, we include a basic information sheet that's different from the rent control information sheet that the owner must give them. And we are revising that with an invitation to tenants to submit their to give us their emails.
Okay, what kind of current listserv do we have? Is it like a Lyris listserv, or how are we getting how are we doing direct email sends?
Well, other than the list that we have collected from owners who have, or anyone who has registered requesting that we communicate with them by email, we don't really have a dedicated list. However, we do have owner emails from the online tenancy registrations. So
does it go into an automatic database that we have that we can just automatically send emails to?
It is in a digital format that we can use, yes.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of the social media, have we ever thought about getting a Twitter account for the rent control board?
Well, we have considered it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just to be clear, the item that's on the agenda for the board's discussion tonight is the approval of the getting out the word on this, not a general.
No, yeah, but I thought I had asked for a plan, and this is part of the plan, and I have questions about the plan, including what we are the most effective vehicles to get out to the public.
For the March 22
Correct.
meeting.
Correct, which is why I want to know if we have Twitter, if we could consider getting Twitter before that date.
Well, because we can use the City of Santa Monica's Twitter account, which has...
But it's not as targeted.
It is not as targeted, but...
It's bigger than any list we have.
It may be bigger than any list that we had. And between now and the March 28th meeting, I doubt that we would be able to get as many followers as,
Okay. And then have we thought about putting, if someone goes to the website to make a comment, like if someone wants to submit a public comment via the website and not attend a meeting on the March 22nd meeting if they're not comfortable, is there any way to do like some sort of easy fillable form where they wouldn't have to have it connected to an email address in order to send the email, so they can just do it from the website? Is there a way to set that up quickly?
I'm not aware of... We don't have that on our website now, and we haven't had that. I think the only possibility might be using some kind of survey monkey,
Or a phone call.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Commissioner Flora.
You just yielding for a question. Well, I have something to say about the ads in a minute.
Well, guys,
but wait, no,
Okay.
I'm not out of order. I promise.
All right.
But if we were to do ads, do we at least have an info at email that we could direct it to instead of 5 different names of commissioners? Would that be something that would be easy enough, Commissioner Terosas, if we do these ads to direct to an info at email?
Sorry.
Is that what you meant?
I
Just
don't
something
think that's
simple.
what I meant. But yeah, no, I think that if we
want, like,
wanted
a
to do surcharge, whatever. Yeah, info ad is fine. I think that's fine for them to submit. I just meant if they wanted to directly submit a specific, if we had some sort of specific public comment form on our website where they could just easily fill it out, submit it, and then we could kind of aggregate those comments to look at them
I see.
on March 22nd or throughout this process. I just want to make sure that people who can't physically come here are able to give a comment.
Well, certainly people can comment by email, and they go into the main rent control mailbox, and staff people review that daily, and they would pull out any that have to do with the surcharge issue.
I hear that. My suggestion would be like, if it were me and I'm a member of the public and I see something directly on the website that says like submit your comment on the potential apportionment of pass-throughs from landlords to tenants, something in plain language. I think plain language is really important. I feel like I'd be more inclined to submit a comment. And then in terms of the earned media, are we getting a list from the city's PIO as to who all of the potential news outlets would be, and can we send through the city PIO's listserv the press release to all of the known media outlets?
Well, we can use whatever resources the city has.
Okay, I just feel like that also wider the better.
So, my fellow commissioners, I just want to interrupt here for a moment because we do have a public speaker. I just feel like it would be more appropriate to hear from the one.
I didn't realize there were,
I understand, but we can always call Mr. Costello back during our discussion.
I have more questions because I care a lot about this, but sure, I'm happy to hear from
but
the
I think
public.
it's more important that we hear from, in order, the public first, because it might be considered that we're considering the answers and already deliberating before we've heard from the public.
That's fine. I didn't know we had a public comment.
I've got it right here. All right, so moving on to public comment on this item, we have Michael Millman. And after that, we will resume full discussion, and Mr. Costello will make himself available for more questions, for sure. Mr. Millman, you've requested 3 minutes.
Yeah. Is it on? Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Michael Millman. Well, where do I start other than to say I'm terribly disappointed I didn't make the last rent control meeting because I was told that it rivaled high drama in Hollywood. It was that amazing. Look, for 8 years in Mar Vista, I was on their community council and I co-chaired their land use and planning, their plum meeting. When we had a serious issue, albeit it's Mar Vista, not Santa Monica, we did outreach and we had committee meetings and we had free exchange, not unlike some of the meetings I've attended with this excellent group. And we got concrete things discussed. And we might not agree, but we walked away from the meeting feeling that we had a great opportunity to at least get some comments out, not talking points. I've been to meetings in downtown LA or Sacramento where all you get is speeches and talking points. That doesn't help this agenda. We have a chance to save education in Santa Monica by doing the right outreach, not a meeting on the 22nd, but getting the real stakeholders involved so we can do what's right for those people who have suffered an injustice. We don't have to repeat the obvious. But this meeting on the 22nd, where people come up with talking points, you'll give them 1 minute or less because we'll put 400 people in this room if that's what you want, because I like that gentleman. I'll put 400 people so it looks successful. But you're not getting the dialogue or the information you need to protect the interests of tenants, small mom and pop owners, and the school system. I think we should send out with the notices a notice of funeral, because you will kill funding in this city for schools if you go back on, I don't want to call it a deal. I learned the new term when you make arrangements for the public at large and everyone benefits. In Missouri, it's called an understanding. I don't want to violate the understanding. All I want to do is say this is a train wreck. The optics are wrong. If you go forward with this meeting, it looks like the fix was in from SMER. They marched up here, they barked out some orders, and like trained people, you jumped to their command and you got rid of the outreach. The people that wanted to deal with this problem had big hearts, and they knew there was an injustice. So the situation is, I'm ashamed to see those 3 people came down here and admonished you and instructed you and told you don't go into the public, because we could have solved this together as a team. Thank you for your time, Ms. Chair.
No, no. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's go back to discussion of our item before us. And tonight what we're talking about, and all that we're talking about, is our methods of public engagement and outreach. So please try to limit your commentary to that wonderful discussion. And I know you still have more questions for staff. Everyone's going to get their chance, I think, but Commissioner Flora had his name in the queue for the discussion portion first, and he accidentally took it out. But you were asking clarifying questions on the staff report earlier.
Well, can I?
All right, just a moment. So, Commissioner Flora, go ahead with your discussion.
Thank you. And it will be discussion, and I hope that it might. I hope it might give, if my fellow commissioners will hear me with an open mind, I hope it might give us some things to think about. I promise you I was going to make this point before Mr. Millman spoke, so at the risk of sounding like I agreed with part of his sentiment, I do want to raise this question. Is our goal to get throngs of people drifting into the hallway to a meeting, or is it to really gather public input? Now, my ego doesn't need the boost of 40 people waiting in line to say the same thing, whether it's what Mr. Millman suspects they're going to say or something completely different. I also disagree with his assessment because, as you can see from this calendar of events on page 3, we're very actively planning on going out into the committee to solicit opinion. So I think our goal should be to solicit public opinion, not win any crowd besting contests. And so I would argue a couple of things. One, I cannot, when you consider the number of, we already are lined up, somebody will definitely make the Smurf Steering Committee meeting. I'm sure somebody will definitely make the apartment owners meeting. We've already got the Mid-City Neighbors meeting booked for at least 15 minutes. They're probably going to be more generous. I'm still going back and forth with those folks. So we're going to be reaching hundreds of people there. We're going to be reaching hundreds of people on various social media. There are several, I know it's not part of the plan, Stephen, but since Facebook is listed here, I'm going to give myself a little leeway and say there are several very engaged citizen sites on Facebook where we're already going to be making announcements about a meeting. But again, do we just want people to come to a meeting, or don't we also need to give them a sense of what their options are? People may know, yes, we want you to do something, but they may not even be able to conceptualize, well, what are my options? There's doing nothing. There's 50-50, 70-30, 60-40. There are splits, landlords and tenants. There's a cap. There's a sunset and elimination. I would like it if what we're really after is public input and not just ego-boosting crowd size. I would argue that Twitter, you can use it to take polls. Other social media, Facebook, we could actually pose, here are some of the options. What do you think among these 4 options? Or do you have something we haven't even thought of yet? We really do kind of need to hand to the public at least what some of the options are. And that's what's really missing from this discussion. Again, do we want to get throngs of people to a meeting that come up and tell you how bad it is in their apartment? And we really do know, we've heard from you. Or do we really want them to weigh in on specific options? And I'm telling you, if we just spend time trying to get people in a line out the city hall door to come to a meeting, we're going to get what Mr. Millman said on all sides of the issue. 40 people saying the same thing. But we could be gathering hundreds, if not a couple of thousand of opinions before March 22nd on specific options. And so what I would propose is that we do not need a direct mail piece, especially considering there are plenty of other expenses we have to consider, some of which we'll be discussing later. Paid media, I don't think it's going to get what's it going to do? It's going to get people to a meeting. And do I want the chamber empty? Of course not. I want people coming that night. I want people coming on April 12th as well, or April 10th, or whatever that date is. Because I can guarantee you, if you get 1,000 people in this room on March 22nd, we're not making any decisions that night because the meeting will go till the next day. So I think the focus should be to enlist a public opinion on specific options. And what's missing here is the delivery of some of those options and an invitation to come up with some of your own. We had a gentleman that's come to the last 2 meetings that's got something about taxes per square foot. I don't understand it, but someone probably does. So I say no paid media because it's just going to be announcing a meeting without giving them the options of what to provide feedback on. No direct mail because I just don't think that's a budgetary expense we can justify, particularly given debates we'll be having later this evening. And we've got an active list of Facebook groups, neighborhood association meetings we're going to be attending, apartment owner meetings we're going to be attending, tenant group meeting we're going to be attending. I think we should do it, and I think what's missing from this discussion, and what I hope my colleagues will also consider, is that we get the options out there. What do you favor, Joe or Jane? Public, A, B, C, D, or E? What's your idea? That's what we need more of, not just people coming to a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Flora. Commissioner Trosis, you are next.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I didn't get to finish asking my questions, but my next question actually was...
Do you want Mr. Costello to
I
come
would.
back?
I believe that I specifically was the one at the last meeting who laid out what I thought the potential options were, and I specifically asked staff to come back at this meeting with the people that we were going to invite to present their potential solutions to this problem. So I mean, without being harsh, I mean, I think that that's what's lacking from this report, and I was going to ask, where is that? Because I thought we were going to consider... Not that I don't want to hear from everyone in the public, because I think to me it's twofold. It's making sure that everyone's heard, which is why I think it's really important to have vehicles on our website, et cetera, so that people can feel like they had their voice heard. But then it's also, what are the options? And so I do agree with you. I think there are certain people we want to invite to present us with some options. I've actually, since last meeting and this meeting, I've heard potential options from several members of our public with concrete solutions. I think that I would like, this is the first meeting, March 22nd. I would like to hear from people we invite to present us the options so we can consider it. And I like the idea of potentially then asking the public, okay, polling or whatnot, what do you think? So I wanted to hear, like, what stakeholder groups do you think are the most important to invite to present us with an option at the next meeting?
Excuse me, can I? Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, it was my understanding that you all were going to think during the last week about who you wanted us to extend a personal invitation to, but that we would generally be trying to reach the public as a whole and tenants and property owners, of course. And so I was anticipating that this evening you would have some specific people that you wanted us to extend an invitation to. So that was my misunderstanding, if you thought we were going to come back with a whole list of people. I misunderstood.
So I can just say, I mean, I definitely think, a member from the SMER steering committee needs to be invited. I think we need a member of the leadership from Action Apartment Association. I think we need someone from potentially the college board or the schools. I think,
Do you have particular people?
Well, I find it difficult to say we're inviting someone in their individual capacity versus who the representative from that body should be, and do we give that body the option to designate a representative to on their behalf to give their opinion? I think the latter.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What was discussed at the last meeting was that board members would inform Tracy of who they wanted to invite. That was what was discussed last time. And even if the names of those people aren't known, but you know the kind of person that it is, like the chair of some board or something like that, then we can.
Okay.
There's no need today to give us a list.
I mean, I'm happy. Well, I mean, I just said publicly some organizations.
Right, and that's fine. But my point is just that we don't need tonight to have all of those details. If at any point up until the 22nd, there's someone who occurs to you, you just inform Tracy and we can.
Yeah, I mean,
send an
I
invitation.
think that we would like to invite people, and like I've said, and I've said this on Facebook, I'll say it to people individually. I think I said it at the last meeting, but I could be wrong. I actually want like a tangible solution, not just like, oh, woe is me, I'm so upset. That's not helpful. I mean, we understand the magnitude of the problem. It's great, and we need to do something here and now, but I need a concrete solution to be able to consider, because I myself have not, I'll say publicly, I have not made up my mind about what to do about this, and I would like to hear some concrete solutions. So with that being said, just again, reiterating, can we get submit a comment on our website? I really think that's important. Even if the city would allow that I would appreciate that. And then it sounds like, do we have contacts for each of these organizations? I'm assuming we've made contact or have a contact at each of these organizations with the calendar of community events.
We've made contact with all of the neighborhood associations, but we just began that effort yesterday. So
okay. I'm happy to go to any of the...
Yeah, and we are intending to contact all of those organizations on the calendar.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. You know, I feel sad and disappointed that Mr. Millman feels that what we did last time was told to us, because that's certainly not how I operate. I'm a pretty opinionated person, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me what to do. So I take offense to that. But in any event, I think it's very important to have a public dialogue. I've said that every meeting. I'm happy to go to these meetings and talk with the people there and let them know we're looking for solutions and let them know what we've discussed so far. So I'm always happy to go. What's our average daily traffic on our webpage? Do you know? Do you happen to know?
Daily, I'm not sure.
Or like
but I
weekly,
think,
monthly, anything?
Yeah, monthly it's over one. I think we had 87,000 hits on our website last year.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
So,
More than I would have thought.
So,
but those are not
some
unique.
of those are tenancy
Okay.
registrations. You know, some of those are not unique hits.
Right.
But we expect that between now in the next 3 weeks, we would at least have 500 hits or more.
Yeah, and then I assume, because I think I heard you say it, we're in contact with the city's PIO to make sure that they're getting this word out through their channels. I'm assuming they have a proportionately higher hit base on their website or average daily traffic on their website. So that's, again, why I just think it would be important to put something on their website.
Oh, no, we're definitely collaborating
with
the communications team.
Fabulous.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much for all of your hard work on this. I think it's so important. I appreciate all of the staff very much. Thanks.
All right. Commissioner Duran?
Yes, thank you. I do have one question for you, Mr. Costello, and then I'll go into kind of my discussion thoughts. The direct mail postcard, it's my understanding, and it wasn't discussed, but it's my understanding that in order to produce a piece, whatever it is, that cost is going to be a set cost, regardless of the amount of people we mail it to, correct?
The production of the card, I mean, the design of the card is not an issue, really.
In-house, probably.
Right. So it really depends on how many you plan to send out. It's going to be the cost for printing.
Okay.
You know, if we go with all of the tenants and all of the landlords that we have, it approximates 30,000 pieces.
Okay, and that is the estimate that you gave for $12,000.
That's right.
Okay. All right. I, like Commissioner Flora, believe that the direct mail piece with the cost is something that isn't necessary for this when you consider the other sorts of outreach that we'll have, and so I too would be not in favor of putting that cost forward. I differ slightly in my opinion as to the publication, the paid media, and this is why I think it's important that we all go to these public meetings, the organizational meetings, and do our outreach in addition to the website, the social media, all the email efforts that have been already discussed. And I think it's at those presentations that we present the options, right? We talk to them about what the decision is that we have to make. And we ask their opinion or we ask them to think about it. If they would like to come to our meeting starting on March 22nd to give us their thoughts about that. And then at that point, whoever and how many ever come, and they make their 3-minute speeches, their 5-minute speeches, 1-minute speeches, whatever it is, but they talk about what is concerning to them. Hopefully, it will be focused on the options that we've given them, but it may not be. In any event, it's our job, because we are the people that have been elected to make this decision, to make it. And so whatever input they bring in, that's what we have to use to base our decisions upon. And so I am not into the popularity contest. It's not about how many people we can get to this meeting, to be clear, but I think that the more people that do come, a consensus will form, and that I think will guide our decision. And hopefully the more people that do come, different ideas may pop up that will give us some food for thought. So I'm interested in getting as many people as we can in a cost-efficient way to discuss these meetings. I'm interested in really outreaching to the different organizations to present the options with the hope that they will come back to us and give us their thoughts on those options. And then we, as elected officials, will put our heads together or put our thoughts together to speak our mind with our vote and what we think the best solution is. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Duran. It's my turn. So, first of all, I echo what everybody else said. That you can have a seat. I don't think I have any clarifying questions at this moment. You guys jumped. I mean, we asked you to move quickly, and you did. Thank you very much to the whole staff for mobilizing on this plan so quickly and identifying, the likely targets of the route of interaction very quickly and succinctly, easy to understand. First of all, I just want to take a second to mention that 500 members of the public in the next 2 weeks in the office alone for the information analysts is pretty impressive. And 3,000 web hits between now and March 22nd is pretty impressive. And it brings to mind it just is a testament to the work the agency does, to the importance of our staff, to the importance of our registration fees and our budget, that the need is real. And we appreciate you being able to make contact with so many people, both landlords and tenants in the community, to help everyone navigate the law. It's wonderful. First of all, or second of all, I think we should do this with every major issue we take up, not just this one. This is pretty great. So in that vein, I have two ideas I want to float to staff and to my fellow commissioners. Because ballot measures for rent control were voted on by the entire city, not just tenants or landlords, but also by homeowners, also by people in non-rent control departments. Because a lot of things we do are voted upon by the whole city, then why not commandeer the entire city email database for our purposes and go ahead and pepper them with stuff, whether they've signed up for it or not, specifically for rent control? Because if they've signed up for city alerts already voluntarily, and we're already, every time somebody votes, it's the entire city voting, I'm just saying it would seem to make sense to me that if people voluntarily signed up for citywide informational emails from the city, that would still be an appropriate database for us to email to. And if a small percentage of those people want to disregard rent control emails, they can. Is that a possibility?
I think it is. When Dan, when you checked with the PIO, is SAMO News and the city manager's letter, do they send that to the whole city email list? Is that the 6,000 people?
I don't know if the city has any wider list than that, but that's what I was told was the subscription base for SAMO News.
And ours is currently 500.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I
and
mean,
Mr. Gwynn, there are a number of different email lists that we can mail to. Community and Cultural Services has a very extensive email list. I think Mr. Gwynn said 24,000 or something.
In my mind, these are community issues, cultural and community issues, especially since the entire city gets to vote on everything we do on the ballot. It seems to make sense to me to go ahead and throw that net out widely for people who favor electronic communication. That would be effective. So I'd like to know if we can do that. Also, I am a big fan of paid media for the Santa Monica Daily Press, and part of that's been my work with Meals on Wheels. We deliver to hundreds of homebound seniors who, most of whom do not have home computers or email or sometimes even smartphones. So it is still a way, short of doing a direct mailing, which I'm also not in favor of at this time. But it's a way to get paper in front of people who may not be on an email listserv or able to be on one. And I think at a cost of less than $500 a week just for the next 2 or 3 weeks is a good compromise. It's a good alternative to the direct mail piece, because I do agree with what everyone has said, and Commissioner Flores started saying it last meeting and reiterated it this time. We are aware, I think, of what the problems are. So I don't think that the direct mail piece is necessary in this particular case, because I think the landlords, trade associations associated with landlords, and tenants groups associated with tenancies are going to do some outreach of their own on this issue. But I think we've already identified the categories of issue. So I don't think the direct mail piece is necessary in this particular case. If it happened to coincide with a mailing anyway, that'd be great, because it would be timely. But since it's not timely with something we were going to mail anyway, I'm against the direct mail piece. The other thing, and as far as I think a widget on the website is a fantastic idea. Maybe we could borrow one from the city they already have and import a widget. If that's not something that can be done quickly, then in the fine print of these notifications, in our announcements that we make when we attend public meetings, neighborhood meetings, and in the fine print of the newspaper ad and in the fine print of the email, it could say, if you do not plan on attending or if you don't have access to email, please call the Rent Control Board office and say the following: I would like to contribute my opinion. I would like to have my opinion recorded, for input. So a simple phone call from a senior citizen or someone who's not super tech savvy, I would think should suffice the same as an email or a written letter, potentially, especially if we had a menu of choices. I'm most in favor of that 50-50 thing, or, at least somehow tabulate, or register their opinion. Mm-hmm. So potentially a phone call to our wonderful staff, who's already talking to 500 times a week anyway. I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Tarosis that all of this outreach is incredibly wonderful and necessary, and I honestly do think we should do this for every major issue we take up. Yep. It's well worth $1,500 with the Daily Press, to get the word out, and the rest of these things are all free.
I agree.
I'm in favor of every single thing you've got listed. I am in favor of keeping the Daily Press ad for our homebound seniors, and against the direct mail piece, and that's where I stand at this time. Commissioner Flora.
Yeah, I want to thank. I also want to thank the staff, and I'm sorry I neglected to earlier. There you are, Dan. Sorry, put my glasses back on. Reading. Now I'm looking. For getting this together really quickly, and I also forgot to say that all these years, when Neil was here and I was saying we need more kind of communications, this is exactly what I didn't realize I was talking about. the kind of the grassroots reaching out when big stuff came up. I mean, obviously, I admonished the print media a little bit last week, but in any case, and I also want to thank Commissioner Duran for his comment, and Madam Chair for your comment, reminding me that there are people that aren't as tech savvy, or whether it be generationally or otherwise, or aren't as able-bodied to get to the meeting, that may want to call. And I think that if we had somebody tabulating kind of the general, just making hash marks and giving us a bit of a count on kind of what options, if they happen to mention one, I think that's smart. But you reminded me of something really important, whether you meant to or not, Commissioner Duran, and that is, we may go to these neighborhood association meetings and AGLA and Action Apartment Association, although I have a feeling they're going to know right away their opinions. But like, say we go to OPA or Friends of Sunset Park, these are often going to be just days before our meeting. I mean, I'm already slated at Mid-City Neighbors. It's 2 days before our meeting. So yes, we're going to be talking about the options, but by making the announcement, we remind them of the meeting, because they may need a couple days to think about it. They knew the options, but maybe they hadn't made a decision until the 22nd. So I am persuaded on the newspaper ads. Thank you both for that. In the spirit of getting really practical, I can look at this list right now and basically just tell you what. One of the things we have to be careful of is we can't go to the meeting. We can't go to 2 meetings with 2 different colleagues. So I don't know if we want to all be paired with a partner for some of these meetings. But
we should get staff's clarification on that. But if you are simply listening and not offering your opinion back, that's not a Brown Act violation.
So conceivably, if we literally just went and contextualized the issue and said, these are some of the options that have been discussed, or we'd love some of your opinions, I could conceivably go to 1 meeting with you and 1 meeting with Steve, and that would not be a Brown Act violation? Or would it be safer? Well, sorry, counsel.
Yes, that's correct. As long as there is not a sharing of board members' views among board members, it's not a Brown Act violation.
Or with each other, yeah, okay. I still think we probably need to be a little bit careful, but I can get really practical with you right now and say when I'm available. If we want to really be I just wasn't sure how transparent we wanted to be and how practical we want.
I discussed this with staff earlier in the week, and it.
Can we just let them know privately when we're available?
Why don't you just let me know, and then I can,
Tracy will help coordinate.
Yeah, I'll
coordinate. It's just simply a scheduling issue, so it's not
great. And we've
germane to the public business.
Great, exactly. Okay, great. All right.
Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Trosas.
Okay. So again, I said it, I'll say it again. I think all of our staff is amazing, including Tracy and Steven. Even if I'm critical all day, every day, I really appreciate both of you. And thank you for keeping us on our toes. In any event, I, am a fan of public engagement, but I also think it's important to know, or to remember that, we were elected to be the policymakers. So although we can do tabulations and voting, this is not a scientific process. We have to do what the right thing is, despite potential voices being louder than others. I just want to say that. I mean, I'm in favor of tabulating responses, but I'm not going to go with the choice that gets the most votes. That's not how I make my decisions. I don't think that we need the postcard. I simply wanted to ask some of these questions because I think it's just so important that we get our email lists up to speed. And I actually love Commissioner Foster's idea of commandeering multiple listservs. I think that's really great. No? Yes? No? Yeah, okay. To the extent that we're not invading people's, we're not polluting them with emails, but I think there's a nexus. I actually, when I read the amount of money that it costs to do the paid media, I was pretty surprised. Sorry, there it is. Santa Monica Daily Press. I've seen these earthquake retrofitting ads in the Santa Monica Daily Press, like a Bayside retrofit every day, all day. So I'm like, there has to be some sort of deals going on here.
If you sign up for a year, to post something every week for a year, there's a discount.
Oh, great.
So I guess they signed up for a year.
I don't know. Matt Hall, can you give us a discount if you're out there? I mean, we're trying to get public engagement. So I don't know if it would be possible to negotiate this, but I kind of thought it sounded a little ridiculously expensive. I don't know what their reach is, but it sounds high. I'm just looking. How many ads did we say we were going to place? 3. I'm kind of into 2.
Well, this is the price for a quarter page. We don't necessarily have to do a quarter page.
No, I like a quarter page. I mean, what about if we do it like the Monday before the meeting and then the Wednesday before the meeting? I don't know. I just feel like it's really expensive, unless Matt Hall wants to give us a discount, in which case I could be into that. But I'll go with the majority on that decision. I'm trying to think if there are any other comments that I have. I mean, I'm prepared to move forward. I just want to say I love public engagement campaigns. I think, to echo everyone else, this is exactly what I was envisioning.
We know.
I know. Because I've seen them work. And I think just us getting more proactive with engagement is great. And I'm happy that we're at this point. And I don't know if now would be inappropriate. Well, let's do the motion, or let's make a decision first.
Well, this is the only item on the agenda, so this is your last opportunity to speak.
No, I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate, but Nicole wanted me to direct staff to do something since she's not here.
I don't think that's appropriate. She's not present.
Well,
yeah,
then
you all would have to discuss it and see if you have a consensus.
Well, it's not an action item. I just want it to be agendized for future discussion.
She can do that at any
she
time.
Can talk to me. We can put it on the next agenda if she
Okay.
wants to.
Okay.
Yeah.
As to this item, there's no need for a motion. We understand what the consensus is, and
Yeah.
this was just really basically an informational item.
Well, don't we have to authorize an expenditure plan here?
Is there a consensus on the number of ads, or are you feeling kind of like 2?
So just a moment, please.
Sorry.
What I've heard so far is that all 4 members present tonight are in favor of dropping the direct mail piece, and that 3 out of the 4 support, at least openly support, the 3 ads in the daily press. So unless there's anybody who wants to change their opinion at this moment, I would say that is the consensus on the dais.
I would be into 3 if they would give us 3 for $600 at the cost of $200 per day.
So noted.
Let's try for that.
So noted. All right. So that concludes our item. Thank you, everyone, for a lively discussion, and to our public speaker for public input. We are now going to recess to closed session.
I'm sorry, before we recess into closed session, there is one item for the closed session agenda that's not on the printed agenda because it arose after the agenda was posted. It's one item of potential litigation. The need for the board to act in order to preserve the board's position is urgent and can't wait until the next meeting. And so in order for the board to consider this matter in closed session, we have to have a 2/3 vote to place it on the agenda for the closed session. So I'd ask that the board do that.
I'll move that we place it on the closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are recessed to closed session. I love the gavel.
I'm kind of feeling it too.
That was awesome.
I don't know why that just struck me so funny. Carolyn, I love your tough bargaining, but let's remember they're the only ones covering us.
I mean, are
I know.
banging down their door to pay for?
No, I know. Well, no.
I know, that's what I didn't